Hello, and welcome to the 71st episode of From Impossible to Inevitable. I am your host, Megan Bauer. Thank you so much for joining me today and pushing play on today's episode. As always, if you're listening on a podcast platform, there is a YouTube version that you can find the link to in the show notes so that you can watch the episode if that sounds fun. So this morning, as I was intending on recording podcasts, I had some ideas already, but I was brainstorming some more specifics of the episodes. And I was really kind of struggling to figure out exactly what I wanted to say and the exact examples I wanted to give and things like that. And so I took a minute after I had set up my podcast setup and I had the video on. I wasn't recording it, but I had the video on and I was just like, I'm not sure what I'm going to say. And usually by this point, I've got it. Like I know what I'm going to talk about. And so I took a minute, kind of recalibrate myself. Everything is done. There are no more like to-dos. The light is up, the everything's done. And so I all I had was to be able to take this minute or two and really think about what might best be of service right now. So maybe this episode is just for you. Um, and maybe you're like, well, that was kind of a weird one, Megan, but we're rolling with it because this is what I have for you today. This is what I feel inspired to give today from my heart. And it's something that I have been working with. So, anyways, without further ado, we're going to get into it. And I am going to give you an anxiety battle tactic. So, anxiety is one of the mountains I have to climb in my life. I have a friend who always reframes that for me whenever I'm like, anxiety is one of my problems. And she's like, it's one of your mountains. And so it's one of the mountains that I encounter on a fairly regular basis. And my anxiety has gotten way better over the last year. I've made a lot of changes, I've done a lot of perspective shifts, a lot of reframing, and really, it has come so far. However, I still battle anxiety. It's still one of the things that I deal with. And if you are unfamiliar to anxiety, I like to give it in the context of it's kind of opposite. Might not be technically opposites, but roll with me. Okay. So most people are very familiar with depression. You know, depression is you're really down and depressed and living in the past about like all the I wish I would have, I could have, but I didn't. I should have, but I didn't, blah, blah, blah. All of that is really in the past. And so depression comes a lot from dwelling in the past. Anxiety, on the other hand, is like future tripping. Like, what if this? What if that? What if all of these things that I can't control? What if this blows up? Blah, blah, blah. What if this? And it's all based in the future, which you can't do anything about the past. You can't do anything about the future. You only have right now, right? So some of you might be like, well, it's kind of easy to deal with the future because you can prepare for it now. And yes, when it's one of your mountains, that doesn't always connect automatically and you have to make it connect. So, anyways, here is an anxiety battle tactic. Okay. So, when I feel a rush of anxiety, sometimes I can identify what's causing it. And sometimes I can't. We're going to start with being able to identify it. And sometimes identifying it sounds easier than it is. Sometimes you know exactly like this happened and now I'm anxious, and you can make that link really easily. And sometimes there's more of a subconscious trigger, and you have to do a little digging to figure out what it is you're feeling anxious about. And so a lot of the times I get anxious about being places on time. That is one of the things that is very important to me. And I love being early. I don't even really enjoy being on time. I love being early. I am everywhere early. And that's where I feel comfortable. If I am right on time, I am already feeling anxious. And then I have to figure that out. So I do a lot of things to avoid being anxious about being to places on time. If I know that I need to fill up on gas, I'll do it the day before, or I'll leave extra early. I have no problem being to places early. Absolutely no problem. I'll bring a book, I'll bring my iPad, I'll bring a notebook, I'll bring my sketchbook, whatever. I don't care. I will sit there and make use of my time. I don't care about being early at all. That's where I want to be. Um, so I do a lot of things to avoid that anxiety. Sometimes it's unavoidable. Sometimes I've scheduled things and something runs late and now I'm anxious because we got to get to the next place on time. And so I have to deal with that. So that's one of my anxiety triggers. So let's say we can identify, like I just hit traffic on the way to, some to meet with friends, even if it feels like no big deal. I just hit traffic and now I feel like I'm going to be late and I can identify that problem. So once we identify the problem, there are 3 questions that you can run through. Some of them will be applicable. Actually, let's just run through them. Okay. So the first one I ask myself is, okay, what can I do about this? If I hit traffic, there's not a whole lot I can do about that. I can let my friends know, or I can let whoever know that I'm going to be late, or that I think I'm going to be late because I hit unexpected traffic. I'm so sorry. It is what it is. And then I just kind of have to breathe it out and let it go, because I most likely left early enough to mitigate that because I know who I am. But I've already done what I've done to that point, and there's nothing I can do about it now. I have to deal with it now. So, what can I do about this right now? If I'm in traffic, there's not much. And then the next question is, what do I need to think about this to make this be okay? Like, to make the anxiety go away. What do I need to think? Okay, I need to think that whoever I'm meeting is going to be really understanding. They're going to be compassionate. They're going to be like, yeah, it's no big deal. It's going to be fine. That's what I can think. If I choose to think that they're going to be angry or, stop talking to me or whatever, that it's all going to blow up in my face, that's going to make my anxiety way worse. So I can choose to think it's going to be okay. I'm going to be a few minutes late and it's going to be okay. Like, it's going to be fine. The third one is, what can I believe about this situation? I can believe that I did my best, that I left early enough. I can believe that the people that I'm meeting are going to treat me with grace and it's going to be okay. And those are things that I can do. What can I do? Sometimes I can't do anything about it. What can I think? I can always choose what I think about the situation and what I think the best case scenario, or at least a good case scenario, will be once we get to that point. And I can always choose what I believe. And sometimes what you believe is a difficult one, because maybe you know the temperament of the person you're meeting and you're like, well, they're going to be mad and that's going to be unfortunate. But you can choose to think that, yeah, I believe they're going to be mad and it's going to be okay, because I know I did everything I could to be there on time. I know I did everything I could for whatever the outcome is. There are other situations in my life that get quite personal that cause me a lot of anxiety, and I fall back on these questions like, okay, I can believe that it's going to be fine, that I can handle this, that I can see this person and know that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. One of the mantras that I say to myself over and over, because like I said, anxiety is a future tripping thing, is everything is okay right now. And that's almost always true, especially when it comes to anxiety, is because everything is okay right now. In this moment, everything is okay. So if I'm stuck in traffic and I know I'm going to be late, in that moment that I'm sitting in my car, everything is okay. Like, it's okay. I'm sitting in a car. I've probably have music going. And if I don't, I've got a book going or I'm enjoying the silence. Like it's in that moment, everything is okay. And that takes me out of the future tripping and into the present, because you can't do anything about the future. You can only do what you can do in the present. So the whole point is to get yourself out of the future and to hush that anxiety. It's going to be okay. Everything in this moment is okay. Okay, so what do you do if you can't identify the source of anxiety? This happens too. This happens not as often anymore, but it used to happen a lot, where I'd turn to Jake and I'd be like, I feel super anxious and I don't know why. And sometimes voicing that starts the process of relieving it, because it's just like, I've got this built up anxiety and I don't know why. Like, everybody's home, everybody's healthy, everybody's happy. Like, I don't know where this is coming from. And so we can go back to our 3 questions. Okay, so if you don't know where it's coming from, what can you do? You can do something that is fun, that is kind of distracting. I would recommend doing something more that involves your brain a little bit more than just like watching TV or numbing out, because you don't want to numb out the anxiety. You want to push it out. You don't want to turn off the TV and have the anxiety sitting in the corner waiting for you. You want to actively be doing something that will relieve that anxiety. Physical activities are really good. Getting out in the sun is really good. Spending time with friends and family, playing a game, or, cooking, doing an activity are also really good at relieving that anxiety and just letting it go. You're replacing it by actively doing something and changing the chemicals in your body. I'm not sciencey, but it's true. So you can do something even though you can't necessarily do something about a feeling that you can't identify. And then what do you need to think? What do you need to think about? Maybe don't go like too far in the future, but maybe what do you need to think about tomorrow? Maybe like, is tomorrow going to be a great day? Like, what do you want to think about that? Like, what do you have to look forward to in the next couple of days that is exciting or fun, or that at least like changes it? It doesn't have to be anything grand. It could be like, oh, I just realized I can sleep in on Friday. That's amazing. And that can help change the direction of your thoughts to something that you're anticipating being really great in your future. And then what do you need to believe? Like, everything is good right now, and everything will be good in 5 minutes, and everything will be good in 10 minutes. Like, believe what you believe you will feel in your body. And you can even say to yourself, I don't know what I'm feeling anxious about, but I believe that I can handle whatever comes our way. Another trick, especially when you don't know where your anxiety is coming from, is to think about something difficult in your life that you have gotten through. Don't think about how necessarily. That's not really important. Just remind yourself, yeah, we came through the other side of that. For Jake and I, years like 6, 7, and 8 of our marriage, maybe just 6 and 7, maybe 5, 6, and 7. I don't know. 7 for sure. Those are really hard years in our marriage. Like, we struggled in our marriage for sure. We had our 13th anniversary this year, so now that's almost halfway behind us, which is kind of crazy to think. And sometimes I'll think about like how hard that was. Like that sucked a lot. And we came through the other side. Like we got that was rough and we came through the other side. We've had other things in our lives that were really hard and we came through on the other side. We made it through. So you can think about things that you have encountered already in your life that were difficult. You're like, man, that sucked. Maybe just sit in that for just a couple of seconds and be like, oh, that sucked so bad. And then spend a couple of minutes thinking about how great it is that that particular situation or event or whatever it was isn't your problem anymore. That's so gone and that's awesome. So feel it for just a few seconds, like maybe 5 seconds tops, and then just spend a few minutes thinking about how good it feels that that is so in your past, that that is so gone. Like thinking about that being 6 or 7 years ago, it feels great because it's like, oh my gosh, we not only conquered that, but man, like we conquered that and then some. Like we really got through that. And that feels great. So that can really help bring your perspective into I've done difficult things, I've gone through difficult situations, and I've really come through. That's awesome. Here's just a little funny bit. I was working with my daughter yesterday. She was working on spelling. Spelling is tough. She's in 4th grade, and these words are they're tricky because like 2 of her words are break, as in like I will break that, and brake, as in like your bike has a brake on it. Use the brake. So yeah, sounds the same, 2 different spellings. It's really frustrating. So context is so important for the spelling test. So this was really frustrating her. And I sat down with her and, she didn't want to talk about it. And so I just started talking and I was like, look, kid, when I was your age, I was the worst at spelling. Like, really, not a great speller. I was like, my parents would sit down with me and help me work through my spelling words. It was probably 10 minutes, but it felt like hours. It felt like we worked on it for hours. We probably didn't because that'd be exhausting. But I was trying to get the point across to her that I worked so hard on it and sometimes I still didn't do great. And I turned to her and I was like, kid, even though I wasn't a great speller, and there's 2 of her words on her spelling list this week that I can't even spell. I mean, and I tell her that. I'm just honest. I'm like, kid, I don't even know how to spell these words. So just do your best. Anyways, I told her, I was like, look, kid, I worked really hard. I did my best. And sometimes I still didn't get it. And I was like, and do you think I turned out okay? She looks at me and she goes, no. All right. Well, that was humbling. Clearly, I don't think she really understood what I was saying because I was just like, look, we have a happy life. I was like, we have a happy marriage. We have a beautiful home. We live in a safe neighborhood. I was like, I'm doing okay. Okay. All right. I'm not going to ask you. I'm just going to tell you I'm doing all right. So, anyways, don't ask your 10-year-old if you're doing okay because you might not get an affirming response. Anyways, that was really funny. But I was able to cheer her up a little bit, give her some confidence, and tell her all we're asking for is that you do your best. That's it. That's it. Because it's going to be okay. In the long run, in 10 years from now, when she's 20, we're not going to be worried about if she can spell mathematician and terrarium because I can't spell those words. And I'm fine. I'm doing okay. Anyways, there you go. Here's your anxiety battle tip. I'm going to wrap it up for you in a nice little bow so you can take it with you when anxiety hits. Ask yourself, what can I do about this? If you can do something, great, do it. If you can't, move on. What do I need to think about this? And what do I want to believe about this? And that will help you change your perspective, help you get out of future tripping. And remember, everything is okay right now. Right now, everything is okay. Might not be super great, but it's okay. Okay? I believe in you. I think you're doing great. No matter how you spell, you're doing great. I wish you all the best. Until next time. Bye for now.